Kindertransport, the final goodbye. That was forever. December 1938. A snowy platform in Berlin. The cold bites through the coats, and the silence cuts deeper than the winter air. A mother holds her daughter tightly, as if letting go would end the world. The child's fingers clutch her mother's coat. She doesn't understand, only that something terrible is happening. Then, the whistle blows. A train begins to move. Screams erupt. Small hands reach out from carriage windows, waving, reaching, begging. Mothers run alongside, crying, whispering, last prayers. But it's too late. The doors are locked. The train does not stop. That was the last time many ever saw their children, nor their parents. Again. Germany was falling into darkness. After the horrors of Kristallnacht, the world watched but stayed quiet, except for Britain. Britain made a decision. They would accept refugees, but only children, not families, not parents. Only the little ones. Save the children. Let the mothers stay behind. The decision shattered thousands of families. Children were tagged like luggage. Each one given a suitcase, a number, and a hope they didn't fully understand. They boarded trains not knowing the destination, not knowing if anyone would be waiting. Some whispered, "I'll come back soon." But they wouldn't. In those carriages, silence screamed. Some cried. Some sat frozen, their hands gripping letters, dolls, pieces of home. A little boy asked his sister, "Is this a punishment?" She didn't answer. She was trying not to cry, because she knew this wasn't escape. It was exile. They passed through cities that looked like ghosts. Snow fell over barbed wire fences. German soldiers stood, silent. The train passed through checkpoints, each one colder than the last. Every stop felt like it might be the end. But the children didn't know what kind of end it would be. One girl, Elsa, carried a broken photograph of her parents. She held it close to her chest, whispering their names like a prayer. As the train rocked, she closed her eyes and imagined her mother's voice reading her a bedtime story. But the train didn't stop at bedtime. It kept going. At night, the children couldn't sleep. Some cried in silence. Others clung to each other. No one knew who would be waiting on the other side, or if anyone would. When they reached British shores, the silence didn't end. It just changed. British officers called out names with accents that felt alien. Some children didn't respond, not out of fear, but because they no longer remembered what they were called. They were no longer who they had been. They had become numbers, strangers, shadows of children. Some were taken in by kind families, who offered warm meals and soft beds. But others, others were not so lucky. There were barns instead of bedrooms, cold floors instead of comfort. And for many, the fear never left. 9-year-old Joseph was taken to a remote farm in Yorkshire. He worked from dawn to dusk. No one spoke his language. His dreams were haunted by the image of his mother's hands, waving as the train pulled away. Every night, he whispered to himself in German, hoping the wind would carry his words across. The years passed. The war raged, cities fell. And through it all, the Kindertransport children waited. Waited for news, for letters, for voices they once knew. Then came the silence. The final silence. They began searching. One by one, they wrote letters, sent telegrams, asked strangers, "Have you seen them? Do you know this name?" But the responses never came. Instead, they heard names they didn't want to know. Auschwitz, Treblinka, Bergen-Belsen. These were not places where parents waited. These were places where voices stopped. Forever. One girl, Rivka, received a letter. It was old, yellowed, written in shaky handwriting. Her mother had smuggled it out of a ghetto before she died. "My precious child, if you ever return and I am gone, know that I died so that you may live. Do not carry guilt. Only remember and live. For both of us." She read it again and again, until the ink nearly vanished. For some children, that letter was the only thing they had left. Others had nothing but memory. And memory fades. Today, many of the Kindertransport survivors are gone, but some still sit by windows, watching the rain, holding photographs of parents they last saw through train windows. And sometimes, just sometimes, they whisper the same question. Did they know how much I loved them? But the past does not answer. Today, thousands of refugee children roam the world again. Some on boats, some in camps, some in cages. They cry out in voices that echo through deserts and oceans. But the world still hesitates. Once again, the question returns. Would you let your child go? Would you place them on a train, knowing you'd never see them again, because not doing so meant death? Would you? The Kindertransport was not just a rescue. It was a gamble, a sacrifice, a wound passed from one generation to the next, and some goodbyes are carved into history.